Dr. Frank. Conversation with her husband, John Maroney. They're sitting eating breakfast at 1 p.m., as is the tradition in New York on Sundays. That's why you moved to New York, so you can eat breakfast any time you want on Sundays. You can also get covered in fumes, but if you're rich, you can sit at a table in the middle of the park. He talks as if he's cross-landed, Dr. Frank says to her husband. Mr. Maroney picks up a bagel and inspects it. I think this one's short a poppy seed, he says to his wife. His wife understands his observation immediately. She says, "You know, I think you would have made a better psychiatrist than me. Maybe we should swap jobs. I'll go into the office tomorrow, and you go listen to my crazy writer patient, who'll happily spend $5,000 a week on therapy just because he's too scared to get out there and make real conversation." The bagel falls from her husband's mouth. $5,000 a week? She ignores his gasp. She flicks her hair like New York women tend to do. The point is that he quite happily walks into my office one day, starts moping on about his fictional characters, all the time ignorant to the fact that he's a crazy loony and should be in a psychiatric hospital. He has this thing, she says, and leans in closer toward her husband, you know, about characters that appear but they're always wishy-washy, always screaming at him about living in boring fucking houses. But really, they're just fictional characters. I mean, what the fuck do they care? And this guy, he's a famous writer. He's got a bloody booker, for Christ's sakes. He earns more money than I do. Dr. Frank realises what she's just said, that is, made another reference to her money-making abilities. This is not what she should be mentioning, considering she's currently sleeping with her husband's best friend, and knows it's only a matter of time till her husband and friend get drunk and have an intimate conversation about each other's spouses, which is also what you do if you're not having breakfast with your own spouse on any given Sunday in New York. Which year? Her husband asks. You know I can't tell you that, John. It'd give it away. You're telling me a Booker Prize-winning author is a pro-cosmic freaky loony, and you won't even give me a hint about who it is. Come on, Frank, you're my wife. And that's when the conversation nearly ends. Frank gives her husband a suspicious look. She thinks back to the days when they were newly married, and her husband wore daring pinstripes, and harped on about being a great artist. You know, John, she said, you used to say you'd never lead a boring life. You said you'd make great art, while everyone else was building squares. You'd think of a new shape and name it after me. John takes another bite from his bagel, and through a mouthful of salmon and cream cheese says, "Don't forget how much I love you, my dear, and that I'm not the first man to lie through his teeth." Simon says, "This character appeared to me today. I was asleep on the couch, and she bent down close to my ear and whispered something to me. But she's not weak, Dr. Frank. She's crossed the line. She didn't even hesitate at outer space."